Superintendent of Fauquier County Public Schools with another additional one-word question. This week's hard question comes from Agnes, who asks a question about the budget, and the question is as follows. I'm writing a reference to the article below regarding the proposed budget for next year. I read the article, but I really don't understand how we can have $2.8 million in additional revenues and still can't afford to give teachers raises. Also, why can't we just ask the county for more money to give a raise to our teachers? This is disappointing, and I just want to understand how counties around us can continue to give raises to teachers in Fauquier or not. Thank you, Agnes. So let me tackle the first part of this very good question first. So we will receive an additional $2.8 million in revenues, part from the state, part from the locality. But right off the top of that $2.8 million, you can lop off $1.9 million in additional benefits costs. VRS, the Virginia Retirement System costs are increasing substantially to the tune of $1.3 million for classified and certified staff. So that's a lot of money. Then there's an increase to health insurance of 3.5%. That's $500,000. So all told, we're talking about $1.9 million in additional costs just for benefits. So you take that right off the top. In other words, we're not passing any of that cost on to employees. We are absorbing it at our level and not passing on costs to employees. Some school divisions do that. In other words, they'll give a raise and then they'll also pass on their benefits increase costs to employees. That's never really made a whole lot of sense to me. But some folks do it, we don't. In addition to the increased benefits costs, we have several building maintenance expenditures that we're going to have to invest in. So we increased and when I say we, this is in my proposed budget, not the school board's adopted budget. This is just my proposed budget. I'm requesting that we pump another $500,000 a year just about for building maintenance, because we have a lot of needs, and aside from the middle school project, which is on the table, middle school modernization project, we don't have in our CIP the construction of any new buildings because our enrollment's flat. So we really need to take care of our buildings because we have a lot of old buildings. So we need to spend more. So that's another $500,000. So you can lop that off, and then there's everything else. There's increases to fuel costs, utility costs, technology, continuing to do more with technology and increase the technology expenditure within budget. And so there is no money for raises. When the state took back the 2.2% proposed raise that they had approved in the governor's biennium budget, when that money was pulled back, we pretty much got hammered because we were really counting on that money in order to do something to help employees. When that news hit the fan, I told employees then, this was back in the fall, I let them know then that there was very unlikely that there would be any kind of compensation increase in my proposed budget because the money wasn't there. Now, the second part of your question, I know this is getting lengthy, but I'll hurry. Why can't we just ask the county for more money? Other folks are giving raises, etc. Well, keep in mind we have a 2-year budget. So the requests for additional monies for raises would have come in last year's budget request, which we did make. We requested additional funding for raises, and the county did provide some money for raises, but they're matched dollars. So when the news came out that we weren't going to get the money for the 2% raise from the state, and it looks like we were hoping that the VRS rate increase would be slowed down. Looks like that's not going to happen. That was really a punch to the gut, and it really made the possibility of giving an increase impossible. And because the county has a 2-year budget cycle, our instructions are not to ask for anything in terms of additional expenditures in the midst of a biennium budget, 2-year budget, just like the state does. So we honor that request. That's sort of a requirement of the Board of Supervisors and the county administrator, and we honor that, and we respect it, and that's the way it is. So we don't go back to the county in the midst of a 2-year budget and ask for more. But on the other hand, when that happens and you're sort of relying on the state to make good in its promise for revenues and they don't do it, it's pretty daunting. It's pretty crushing. And to the last part of your question about what other school communities are doing, I just met with the superintendents from our region, and everyone's doing something a little different, and there are many school divisions that aren't planning to do anything in terms of additional compensation for the same reasons that I just gave. The VRS rate increase is huge, and then we lost state funding because of the decision by the state not to provide funding for our 2% raise. So I know none of that's really good news, and Fauquier is it's just an interesting place. We're in basically Northern Virginia. Our enrollment's is decreasing slightly. We don't have a lot of new business coming in, and that makes it tough in terms of tax revenues. So that's the answer to your question. I hope it was helpful to you, and please keep the good questions coming. Thank you.